Welcome back to another episode of Rob and Avis Ramble, where we just talk about whatever it is we feel like talking about. Is that what we do here?
That's what we do.
All
Wait,
right.
well, we talk about what you feel like talking about because I never bring a topic.
You never bring topics, I know. So I think now we're into episode 9 of this little project.
Okay.
Did you bring a topic?
No,
No. I'm shocked.
I don't think anybody else is.
All right. So, yes, a few things. I mean, I always like to kind of start with some kind of current event thing going on.
Yeah.
So Biden has announced he's dropping out of the presidential race.
Did he?
Well, I don't know that nobody knows, right?
Isn't the validity of whether or not he did it in question?
Yeah, there's a bunch of conspiracy around it. Yeah, apparently it wasn't on official letterhead. It was just some post that was made. I don't know if it was to his X account or what it was.
Yeah, something we were just watching said it was to X.
Yeah, it was to X. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know.
But it was a picture
It was a picture of a letter.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the case. And
I feel like it needs to be more formal than that.
well, and you would think that you would come out and say something publicly, right? I mean, people have been sending your campaign money. They've been doing all these things. There's been people until very recently. They were like, Joe Biden is the best thing since sliced bread, and just very excited about his second presidency. And then you're like, oh, I had to cancel something happening in Nevada. Oh, I got COVID. Oh, I'm dropping out of the race. And nobody's seen or heard from the guy. So, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Everything's weird.
I saw that there was, did they call it Little Blue, has raised like the most money ever in a single day to back the new, was it to back Kamala?
Yeah. Is it Act Blue? Is it Little Blue or Act Blue?
I thought the little was in the title, but
there was something called Act Blue at one point, I think, but maybe that was disgraced or something. Maybe
it could be combined. It could have been like Act Blue and it was Little Donors. Maybe that's, I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
But how is it legal to raise money if he hasn't really resigned in a legal capacity?
Well, he is not resigning from the presidency. He's just dropping out of the race.
Yeah, but I feel like it should be more formal before somebody else is allowed to raise money.
Yeah.
I guess they could give it all back. They know where it came from.
I don't know.
I don't think that. Yeah, that won't happen.
I don't know.
But
I don't know all the ins and outs of campaign finance stuff.
Yeah.
But
I just saw that it was like the most money ever raised in a single day.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Nothing shocking.
Yeah. Anyways.
So yeah. So that's the craziness. But all right. So let's talk about some of that. So unlike most of the things that we talk about, you and I we have talked a little bit about this issue in the last couple of days. Yesterday,
no.
you actually got a little enraged about it.
A little.
Yeah. Well, it's the.
Hey, watch it. Choose your words wisely, mister.
We're in the chemical time of the month, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I admitted that before you went into the conversation. I let you know.
So, I don't think we're going to have the conversation you think we're going to have. Maybe that's different.
Good.
Yeah, but there.
I was enraged about more than one thing.
You're enraged about more than one thing.
Okay, fair.
No, the transformed wife that you're such a fan of.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Had a thing with basically like talking about modesty, and I think we may have touched on this before.
Probably we have
on one of these because it's a topic that comes up.
Yeah.
This was like renewed interest in it.
Yeah.
And what is considered modest? From talking about from like a biblical perspective, I mean that's what she pushes on. Right.
Yeah.
She's trying to come at it, and she basically came at it with some scripture reference that I didn't really get that where she was coming from that. And then one of her other folks that follows her, I was trying to kind of interact and ask some questions, and they came back to me. And anyways, yeah. So what do we think about that? So what is if you say as a Christian you should dress, and I think we've heard Pearl Davis talk about this in the past too, right? She's like been very bashing and shaming on women for how they dress. I mean, right now, according to the lady that I talked to earlier, was that today or yesterday? Maybe yesterday, I can't remember when that was, on X there in the comments. Showing your shoulders is, you're sinning. You're against that's not good. You actually should go change your clothes, I think.
I probably sin every day. One of my friends saw me in an actual t-shirt one day and she was like, you don't ever wear regular shirts.
Yeah. So I this person that kind of said this, I asked them more questions and they haven't said anything back. Well, so yeah.
I mean, it starts more at the top of this funnel rather than like the actual topic. And it's not always the topic so much as the shaming of women who aren't fitting the description that she's assigned to what the Bible is not specific about.
Yeah.
Which makes me upset.
Yeah, so that was the gist of kind of what I was trying to ask. I mean, I asking of the transformed wife, which she did not reply to me. I guess I don't, she either didn't see it or I just, like, she felt like the other lady that my question wasn't even worth a reply, which was kind of funny because she told me my question wasn't worth a reply and then replied to me. But, yeah, I think, I mean, objectively speaking, right? So if yes, the Bible says that we should be modest, right? Okay, perfect. What does that mean? Well, like objectively. So if you're going to look at someone and you're going to say, here's the rules of modesty, and and does it depend on the culture? Does it depend on the time period? Or is it truly this objective? Like, and the lady I was interacting with in the comments, like she had a whole thing. She's like, you can't show your shoulders. Your thing has to be up to your neckline. Your skirt has to be down past your knee. Like, she had a thing. And I was like, that's great that, you have this view of what it is. Can you objectively back that up?
Yeah.
Just so that we're not like, so are you out shaming people because their shoulders are showing? Based on what?
I mean, if I wear a fully covering wrist to ankle black bodysuit, that's not going to leave a lot to the imagination, but I'll be fully covered.
Fully covered, right? So then
it goes into modest?
Well, was it too tight? Like, is the shirt too tight? There was the whole cake gate thing that happened a while back. I think before we started doing this thing, that was I mean, she was, I think if I recall right, it was like a long sleeve shirt up to the neck. It just happened to be very tight. She's quite large chested.
Yeah,
and
she has a nice figure.
People were upset that her shirt was too tight. So what is the objective standard?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also, how do you feel about your own body? I mean, I feel as a fairly fit person that I'm probably less offended by other women's bodies than some women who maybe aren't as secure in their bodies.
Yeah, well, that may play into it too. I mean, I don't. Yeah. It was like that's like kind of more asking like, what is the psychology behind it?
Yeah.
And what is the right? So is this just some women don't feel good about themselves, so they want to be covered up, but then they want all women to cover up, and they're trying to justify that. And I do. I mean, I want to be clear. I'm not saying like I do believe modesty is a thing, but I don't think it's as black and white and cut and dry as like this is what modesty is. I mean, there's probably some lines, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I think modesty can be just as much behavior as anything.
Well, I think one of the things that spurred this conversation was a statement that women shouldn't go to a public pool in a thong bikini, and then maybe even to suggest women shouldn't even go to beaches in bikinis.
Yeah.
Because that's not modest.
Again, in what culture and what time? So
yeah,
one of the things I had asked in the comment that I'd made, in this most recent interaction was, how do we feel about these African tribes where the women go topless,
or bare feet,
That's a thing. I know some people are like into feet, but like let's just stick with something that's more like a topless woman, right? That's more like, I think if most people saw a topless woman walking down the street in America, they would probably say that's immodest. Right. But is that just because that's our culture? It's like, would you go over to, these tribes in Africa or, wherever these tribes happen to be, and, say you are being immodest, you're sinning, when like all the women in their culture, they're topless, right? It's 120 degrees where they live.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not just, it's a practicality thing. Like, do you expect these women to abide by it's got to be up to your neckline and your shoulders can't be showing? And,
Yeah.
you know,
Conversely, what about the countries where women are required, like they wear the burqas, the full like burqas,
Yeah.
and do you even get to see their eyes in the burqas, or do they wear like a screen over their eyes?
I think they wear screen. I think I've seen
Is
it
it
both
dependent
ways,
on the
but
country?
yeah.
I mean, so are those men sinning because they're, quote, adding more to what the Bible is implying? If this lady says it's only requiring a neckline and to go below your knees?
I think that's just it. I don't think the Bible is objectively clear on
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
So that is the exact point. Is like, so in that culture, they're like, if you're not wearing the full covering and like there's no semblance of what shape you are, you're
Yeah.
completely covered head to toe, right? And I feel like a lot of Christian women would be like, that's ridiculous. But they also might say, but your shoulder shouldn't be showing and you can't get your neckline. So like,
Right.
it's,
I think, yeah, I think you have to stick with what's comfortable with you, what you're comfortable with.
yeah.
I don't think anybody can tell you.
So, all right. So let me just play a little bit of devil's advocate.
Okay.
So, let's just say that we're out with our kids are grown now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's just say we're out with our kids and we've got now a parade going on and there are people who are wearing, thongs, maybe they're topless, you have men wearing very tight fitting bikini bottom type things and they're out in the streets dancing around and doing lewd sexual things. Like, we would probably say like, that's not appropriate in public.
For us, yes.
For
we,
us.
we would not participate
by
in
my
it.
standard, right?
Right.
I would be like, I don't feel like this is appropriate. But I think in all fairness, if you challenged me to say, can I objectively say that is against God, that is something that God has not condoned, I think maybe the behavior, I may have a little easier time potentially justifying, but I think the state of dress would be a little bit difficult, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know Europe is not the U.S., but in Europe, it's like men wear Speedos.
Yeah. So that's what I say. I think it's cultural. So I think so this lady that I was interacting with, when I was kind of challenging her on this, and the last thing she came back and said to me was that when I asked about the African, tribes, she was like, yeah, they're sinning. This is why Christianity exists, to go out and, teach these people the right ways. And like, I think that is an abuse of what Christianity is.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that at all.
No. I mean, corner question, I like corner questions. You're covered, but you're not wearing a bra, and it's very obvious you're not wearing a bra. Is that modest?
Well, I think we learned from Kate Gate, they would say no. And I think in that case, she may even be wearing a bra.
I mean, I believe that woman was wearing a bra.
Probably, but I'm saying
without a bra, there's other items.
If they're gonna say that that's too much, then
yeah,
I'm certain that not wearing a bra would probably be considered too much.
Yeah.
So, what is like? It's just it's kind of agitating to me that I'm not saying like I do, like if you just ask me like what is my opinion on morals and or like what is modest, not morals, but I have opinions on morals too, but what is modest? Like I'm going to give you my opinion.
But you're not going to frame it as it's biblical
in a given situation. But yeah, I'm not going to frame it that like I can point to chapter and verse and say this is the word of God and you are living outside of the word of God because you're dressed in this way. Like I don't, and when you try to, seemingly when you're pressing people on this, they're just like, that's a stupid question. We all know what modesty is. Well, it depends on your culture. It depends on your location. Mm-hmm. Right. And then if there are cultural differences, like I just think you're hard pressed to accuse someone's state of dress is being sinful. And keeping in mind, God created Adam and Eve naked.
Yeah.
Right. He created them naked. And I'm not advocating that people should be walking around naked. I'm not. That is like, to me, that's too far beyond my modest meter. But I think just to say that they were seemingly fine naked, God was fine with them being naked. And it wasn't until they ate of the fruit that they felt shame, right?
Yeah.
And they, not God, they then covered themselves up with fig leaves. And then, God, presumably having compassion on them, fashioned them some clothing out of animal skins.
Yeah.
But we don't know what that was.
Right.
Did it come all the way up to the neck? Did it cover their shoulders? Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is, you are the one that has to answer for your actions when you stand in front of God.
Yeah.
So if you feel comfortable shaming other women because they're dressing in a fashion that you don't believe is modest for whatever reason you've made those rules.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Like, are you going to feel comfortable standing in front of God and saying, I shamed these women and I persecuted these women and I, pounded the pulpit and told these women they are wrong and they are sinning by wearing what they're wearing? Like, do you feel completely confident that you're going to be able to make that argument to God and have God go, oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I doubt it. So why are you doing it? Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the women who are placing shame on other women for this modesty are also putting lust on women. Like, women are responsible for men lusting over them by the way that they dress. Like, lust is not owned by the man, it's owned by the woman.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I don't subscribe to that either. I mean, sure, you can dress in alluring fashion, but the man can just look away.
Yeah. Well, and I think behavior is a component of it.
Yeah.
Right. I think behavior is a component of it. So I don't think you can look at the state of dress someone is and say you're being immodest, but maybe you could say that your state of dress with your behavior is treading on immodesty. But anyways, it's just this kind of straight, like, your shoulders are showing, you're dressed like a whore, or like you're being immodest, you're causing men to lust, you're
right.
Yeah. And maybe what you said is maybe that is part of the underlying, like, hey, I'm not feeling so good about myself. And we know people do this, right? People project. People, they kind of take their inner psychological workings and try to manipulate other people for their benefit. And so like maybe that is part of it, that they're just like, I don't feel comfortable in my own skin, and so I'm going to persecute other people.
Yeah.
To because I don't want them to feel comfortable in their own skin either, or I want them to cover up so that I feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that's probably the reality of some of it.
Sure, for some of the population.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's I don't know that there's any like winning in this conversation, but I think it would, to be fair to it, people should have more of a conversation rather than just saying like, hey, it's just cut and dry, and then be willing to kind of get into the nuances of the details, right? So like, let's talk about the African women. Like, you really think they're sinning? Let's talk about like, if you go to the beach, like, what do you, so like, I saw I think the Transform Wife today, I saw later in the day or something, she's talking about some seminar she went to, and the guy was like, oh, I'd never ever go to a public pool or a public beach. I'm like, okay, great. That's fine. I mean, that's your choice to make.
Yeah.
But is that because you have enough money that you have a private pool? Or, I mean, we have a nice place where we live. We have a very private place. We can go get in the water and, you can lay out, do all those things, but not everybody has those things.
No.
And so are you going to say, well, because you don't have the financial means to, afford to have those things, that you also means you're not allowed to go to a public beach and a public pool because it's immodest if you do.
Yeah.
So you're not going to allow people to enjoy these things that are part of God's creation.
Right.
Because,
I mean, I feel like I'm dressed pretty modest today for me. And I know, like, when we go outside to our backyard, I have a set of bikinis. But if we were going to a public place, I wear something different that I consider more modest.
Yeah.
But it's still a bikini.
Because it's still a bikini. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the thing is like you could go to a public pool. Like most of the people are going to be in swimsuits. That's just the thing, right? That people are there to enjoy the water. It's usually hot, right? It's like, so wear the swimsuit, right?
Yeah.
And if it's, since some women are going to say the bikini is wrong, some women are going to say the even the one piece is wrong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there have been women before that have come up to me in my bikini and informed me that I left part of my swimsuit at home.
Yeah. But then there's also tons of other women standing around in a bikini. So
this is, I don't know. The whole like shaming of other women, it just drives me insane.
Yeah. Well, it should.
Yeah.
We're not, as Christians, it's not where God actually is, working to rescue us from our shame. Mm-hmm. Right. That doesn't mean there aren't morals and there aren't things. I'm not saying that. There are.
Yeah.
But I think you shouldn't be speaking where God hasn't spoken. And if really your job as a Christian, if you really are genuinely concerned with someone's well-being and, seeing them learn about God, like, why are you don't shame people into those things.
Yeah. You can lead by example, talk about the reasons you do what you do and try to persuade them to, the positive ways that you're living your life. Versus shaming what they're doing, I think is going to have more of an effect.
Yeah.
So even if you're reading more into it, but you tell them, that you like the high neckline because, or you like below the knees because, you're not really saying this is the letter of the law according to the Bible. You're just saying this is what I believe and this is what makes me feel comfortable based on what the Bible says. I think that's a better frame of mind.
Yeah, you can have your own standard for what you believe modesty is. And, I would absolutely say if you feel God has spoken to you in some way for what your standard of modesty should be, like 100%, I'd listen to that.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't mean that God has spoken that to everyone.
And I think, modesty too has a respect aspect to it. Like if you go to another country where women cover up more and you're a woman, like you probably, try to meet them where they are and meet their standards. And like you kind of like adjust to the culture.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said earlier, it's partially culture.
Yeah.
Culture, which I agree with. I there's perfectly fine to make arguments that, hey, it's a cultural modesty. Mm-hmm. And, it's best if you abide by it, but to take it as far as to say if someone is sinning.
Yeah.
Because I don't see that. Show me where.
Yeah.
How is that? How are you arriving at that, looking at the word of God?
Yeah. And we might have a private conversation. Like if we've thought something and then we see somebody, like, let's say we see a woman walking down, like all of a sudden women start walking around in our state topless. And then so you and I might discuss it. Like, is that appropriate? Is that not appropriate? Are we comfortable with that? Like, what is the level? Like, how are we feeling about that? I mean, I don't see myself walking around the state topless,
no,
even if
allow that. Yeah.
Right, even if everybody else started doing it. Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if,
right,
if,
but that's our
right, our personal conversation. And if somebody asked me why I'm not doing it, I would just say, like, some other things in my life that I don't do, I'm just not comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
That's what I choose to do.
Yeah. Which I think is great. I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you come up with what you're comfortable with, but don't shame people for the things that they come up, that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And and if you're going to call something a sin, bring receipts and be ready to back it up.
Yeah.
Like otherwise you're just diving into something that's a subjective opinion. And I'd be very I mean, I don't want to stand in front of God and trying to give answers for how I persecuted people based on my subjective opinion and things that he didn't actually say.
Yeah. And there is sort of there's a learning curve to that. Like, I think sometimes you are reading the Bible and you believe something, and you believe the Bible says that, right? Like, you fully in your heart believe that that's what the Bible says. And so you're telling other people that. And then maybe later in your journey in education, you learn, oh, that's not quite what it said. Well, then, you have some sort of duty to sort of explain yourself back if you can. Like if the people that you were talking to prior are still around in your life, like to go back to them and be like, oh, hey, I misunderstood that, and this is what I understand it to be now. I don't think we're always going to get it 100% right, 100% of the time. There's some misunderstandings that come, and I think people are going to tell other people based on what their current belief is.
Yeah. We all have misunderstandings at times, for sure. Yeah, and we all do those things. But I think, you need to be willing to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Continually, or having a reason for what you believe and being able to back it up, and always be evaluating that. Because I think the last thing we want to get into or be a party to is falsely persecuting people, for things that we had a misunderstanding of, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of freedom in knowing God, and it seems like there's a lot of people out there that want to make it anything but that.
Yeah.
They actually want to make it not freedom.
Yeah.
And that's sad,
Yeah.
But so I don't know what else there is to really say about that. I don't know if we beat that up enough. Is there enough?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. Anything else we should chat about?
I brought no topics.
Yeah. You got to start bringing some topics. All right. Well,
you didn't bring anything else?
No. I mean, that was really the only thing that I brought. Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, okay, sure. I got another one we can talk about. So I joined a space a couple of days ago, just listening. Didn't participate, just listening. But I heard men kind of some men. Let me just preface it. There's some men in this space. There's maybe 20. Like 20 people in this space, and they're kind of going on about Asian women, and they're the Asian women are it. Like they were kind of feeling that.
Yes.
And it kind of as I was thinking through this, and I've talked about my brother before, and he's dated a fair share of Asian women, and I was like, does my brother feel this way? I have to have him on here one day and talk about this. Maybe not this. There's a lot of stuff I could talk about with my brother about, but it kind of was just got into this wondering so there's people out there, and I think if I understood correctly what they were saying in the space was that they like the aesthetics of Asians, and they like the behavior of Asians, at least for this group of men. So but just a bigger picture question is how much, do men really have a type? Maybe that's where I'm going with that is is it a thing? Do men have a type? Because we know other friends that we talk about from time to time that are single and in the dating market, and they would say something they we have, I think, 2 friends that would be I like petite brown women. Mm-hmm. For example, it'd be something that they would say. So what do we believe that? Is it
I think people have a type that draws them in, but I don't know that they always end up with that.
Yeah, but is it racially based, or is it aesthetics based, or is it personality based? I mean, maybe a blend. Maybe there's because I for myself, I wouldn't say I've got a type based on some Rachel. I mean, I have
have a type.
Rachel. What
I don't know what a Rachel is. Do we need to talk about Rachel?
Yeah, I don't know who's Rachel. Yeah, I don't know. Based on race was what I was trying to say. So I wouldn't say that that I'm oh, this race is is it in terms of
you have a race.
Yeah, I have a race right here. Yeah.
This is your preference. In case you forgot.
No, but you know what I'm saying? So like, it's like, but it sounds like maybe some people do have that, right? But there's other qualities so to me, I'd be like, yeah, race isn't that important to me. But there are other qualities that are absolutely 100% important to me, right?
Yeah. Oh, but were those qualities important to you when you were 18 and we started dating? See, I think though, like, we're not adults in the dating world, like overanalyzing. We were kind of like, hey, you're cute. I like your personality. And you were like, hey, you're cute. I like your personality. So we started hanging out and then we just never stopped.
How did this become about us?
Because you said you don't really have a race. And I'm saying you made these choices before you knew there were choices. Like, you're not an adult. Like, you are an adult now, but you're not an adult in the dating world. Like, if you were dating.
You and I started dating?
Yes. If you were dating now, you might have
different
a preference.
Preferences. Okay,
yes.
I understand where you're going. So at the time when you and I got together,
you weren't.
Yeah, I wasn't. Well,
you were like, you were just looking for somebody that you enjoyed being with.
I mean, we've said that before. We were just dumb kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I mean, I was just like, I enjoyed your company and we started hanging out and then we just kept hanging out. Like, there was not like this ton of thought put into it, like overanalyzing, like this is my type, this is my whatever. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, that in our case, that did not happen.
No.
But what you're saying is maybe as you get older,
sure, you develop more preference.
And maybe that's more too is like as you're more like serial dating or something and you're dating more people and you're like, for whatever reason, this person who meets this trait of like, whatever your checklist is.
Sure.
But it can't, it's not. So it seems like, maybe this is before you even get to know the person though. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've said it in the past. Your initial attraction is looks.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a look that somebody is at least somewhat interested in, you're probably not getting through the front door of the conversation unless somebody has set you up with that person.
Yeah. Sure.
Right? I mean, like, again, we don't date, but I'm imagining you're out at a bar and somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, can I buy you a drink? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
Or
do people even go to bars anymore?
I don't know.
Yeah. Or clubs or any of that stuff. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah. But whatever. You're in a donut line.
Right. Can I buy you a coffee? Like you're going to look at them and immediately decide based on nothing else but looks, whether you're going to accept it or not, probably.
Yeah.
Small part of personality.
Right.
But I think looks is what initially sparks interest, and then personality comes closely second.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah. And so is one of those things for some people, race. I mean, it sounds like it is.
I mean, race can dictate skin color, eye color, hair type. I mean, those are widely what people
common bodily shape traits.
Yeah. So I think, you could be like, well, I like a larger booty. And then so like you're Brazilian or that realm of woman maybe is like, oh, okay, well, Brazilians are known for nice booties. So maybe I'm looking for like somebody of Brazilian descent or.
Yeah. I think in our the people that we know, they're like, I like the petite, brown women, like I think that's exactly what they're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. Like the smallness, the petiteness factor. And then there's the widely assumed calm demeanor. Assumed. Yeah. Is the word I'm going with.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're establishing, we do think that that people do have these kind of traits that, and probably the more you date and the older you get, maybe the more set you get in that and you're like more selective. Is it right?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I can think of any reason why I'd be wrong, but I'm just asking, is it right?
I believe dating is just that. It's like an interview for marriage. So if that's what you like, why would you pick something you didn't like? Because are you going to be happy married to somebody who looks a particular way that you don't find at the most attractive?
Well,
I mean, why would you start at that point? I mean, we all know, like, the more years you stay together, the harder it is to sort of maintain that top tier of, yeah, this is what my mate is most looking for.
Well, because we're aging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a reality of aging. Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you start at that deficit? Why would you be like, okay, yeah, I mean, that'll work. Like, I don't understand that.
But I think you have known people that kind of did that.
Yeah, but I don't understand it.
And they're divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they did. So, yeah, I mean, we know at least one person I'm thinking of that kind of got into a relationship, was married, got out of that relationship, married, and we're talking about the woman in this case, married a guy that she wasn't really attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it a few years, and then that fell apart too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, why start there?
Yeah.
This whole like, oh, I want a skinny wife, but I'm gonna date a girl that I don't think is skinny because I believe she might change for me. No, I don't agree with that either.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard you say that before.
Yeah. I think you can't expect the person to change for you. I mean, people are going to change. That's part of growing up and getting older and just.
Yeah. But kind of saying like,
life.
if it's not important to you now, that's probably not going to be important to you later.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like don't let something that's high on your list go because you think you can change it later.
Yeah.
I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
I think you need to there's things that are important on your list and those things need to stick high on your list, and things that are less important as you go down. Like maybe you don't care if they have crooked teeth, but you care if they have long hair or.
Yeah. Or green eyes.
Right.
Or blue eyes or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has.
I find it for me, like, and it's just me, like, I find it hard to get down to the level of saying like, I care about the eye color. I care about that. But maybe it's like this list of kind of like most important to least important. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I cannot ever imagine myself sitting down and making a list of like, these are the 20 most important things to me. I could see myself having a list that is like 4 things wrong. 4 things wrong.
There's at least 4 things wrong with me.
Was that
we're
a Freudian
good.
slip?
We're good.
No, I mean, a few things, but to get down to this level of like, yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. But I mean, I've known women who had blue eyes and would only marry somebody with blue eyes because they didn't want to pollute the gene pool of their children's eye colors. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing that would ever even cross my mind.
No.
Yeah. Weird.
But yeah, so everybody cares about something, and those things that you care about need to be very high on your dating list, because I don't feel like you should marry somebody and then expect them to conform.
Yeah. So the person kind of, and I think that is a thing people should potentially be aware of, is that, as I'm about to say this, I'm already disagreeing with myself. But, I was going to say that person that you're marrying is kind of the best version of themselves they're ever going to be. But I don't actually believe that, because you can improve, right?
Yeah.
But I think to your point that you're saying is you don't go into it with the expectation that hey, I have these 10 very important things to me. This person only checks off 3 in the list, but they'll get around to the other 7, because that might not happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might, but it might not.
Right. And I think if you're going to go into the relationship and that's always going to be a stressor between the two of you, that's unfair.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, and I think dating is an interview to marriage, or at least life partnering, spiritual marriage, not necessarily state marriage.
Legal marriage, yeah.
Legal marriage,
which,
but
I'm down on for
right.
reasons, but yeah.
But I think, dating, and again, that's why we just talked about not moving in together immediately, because that makes it too messy for the interview process, because you need to spend enough time with those people. And then eventually you need to talk about all of the hard things that come with marriage. Like, do you want kids? How are we going to work our money? Am I going to stay home? Are you going to be the breadwinner? Like,
Yeah.
you know, all of those things, so that you know that once you've decided, like, that it's all, you know, you're not going to come up with something that you can't work out. I mean, yeah, there's going to be problems. Things are going to come up, but you've had enough time and conversation that you're certain that all the important things have been nailed down, and anything else that comes up, like, you have a good enough situation and communication style that you'll be able to work through them. And until that time, like, moving in together, it just makes it so messy.
Yeah, I know you're really against the moving in early.
I really am. I mean, let's say 6 months into your lease, things start going bad. Well, then who takes the lease? Then somebody's in for more money
Yeah,
than...
it gets messy.
Yeah, and have you,
messy.
like, who gave up their kitchen stuff to move in with you? Like, it gets way messier than it needs to be, because it's just an interview.
Yeah, you can't lose your spatula in the departure of ways if it doesn't work out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Glad not dealing with those things.
Yeah. I mean, I know it just, like, I take the romance out of it. And I don't know if that's because I haven't done it as an adult, or because we've been married so long that I can look back now and be like, yeah, like, these are clear steps that help to define what a good marriage is going to be. But I don't know. I just see so many people rushing in to, like, skipping the conversation and the getting to know one another.
Yeah. Well, I think in our last discussion on here, we talked about, like, the ideals. I mean, there are ideals. Ideally, you're going to marry a virgin wife and a virgin husband, and you're going to have done all the right things, and you're going to wait till you get married. You're going to work through all the, and you're going to, the man's probably going to be a little older than the woman, and so there's a little bit of an age spread there. I mean, all the things we talked about before, but that's the ideal. And unfortunately, the ideal is very rarely being met.
Yeah.
So,
anyways.
Okay. Good. Beat that one up enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
That was actually my topic. You still haven't brought a topic.
I don't bring the topics.
Well, you're going to start bringing the topics.
That's not my job in this relationship.
Yeah. I'm going to make it your job. You got jobs. You have plenty of jobs.
That's why this one isn't my job. No, I actually did look on X today to try to find a topic, but then I had other things that came up that I needed to do
Other
instead.
stuff, life got in the way.
Yeah.
Like clean the kitchen or something.
I did clean the kitchen a lot today.
Clean the kitchen, yeah.
Somebody made rice and made it a mess.
Yeah. I've been having this, I think I've talked about it. I've been doing this whole carnivore thing for like 4 months or something. And, like, man, I just have recently, like, really started to get some, like, almost like acid reflux or something from it. I'm not really sure where that's coming from. And so yesterday I was like, I gotta try something different. So I made some rice and ate it, and it did seem to help. So I don't know, maybe I'm going to modify this whole carnivore thing a little bit and maybe do like a day a week of eating some, small amount of carbs, like the rice I liked.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
I feel like it's just a slippery slope for
you. By this time next week, I'm eating ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah. You've done, like, you have this stellar discipline that I've often admired when it comes to food. And you're like, you toe the hard line. But when you go, like, go.
Yeah.
It is like, I was doing it and now I am not doing it. And I am not doing it in a spectacular way.
I'm still going to stick to the strictness. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what I don't know what this is from. Like, did my body reach this, like, I'm eating way too much, like, meat kind of thing, cheese. I don't know what it is. So just trying to figure out, like, I need to obviously play with something. Yeah. It was fine. I had no issues at all. And this has started like 2 weeks ago. So not really sure where it's coming from, but I'm going to turn some dials a little bit here and there and just see if I can kind of get that dialed in. I enjoy the carnivore. I've been feeling great doing it otherwise.
Yeah.
And up to this point, like, very energetic. I lost like 15 pounds. That seems to have leveled off. I don't know, like my weight's just kind of stayed now. Like
That's kind of normal in weight loss journey.
Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah, I don't know what changed, but I got to try turning on some dials and see if I can sort that out. But anyways, yeah. So I was part of you having to clean up the kitchen because I got in there and made rice, didn't really know what I was doing. Right. I just dumped some water in a pot, and some rice. Next thing you know, it's boiling over. And
against my advice to just using the rice pot.
Why would I do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. No way. I can just throw it on the stove.
It seems so much more fun the way you did it.
Yeah, it's great. Made a big mess. The rice was a little bit crunchy. It's perfect. So, all right, cool. Well, a little bit of a shorter one than we usually do today, but I think that's good. We'll wrap this one up, and yeah, let's. I don't know. I'm gonna go get something else to eat, and then maybe we'll just get in bed. It's getting close to bedtime.
House of Dragons.
We've been watching the House of Dragons. Yeah, not as good as Game of Thrones, as I recall.
Yeah.
But it's been just interesting to kind of get the imagined backstory to Game of Thrones. So
I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just as happy watching silly crap on YouTube. But
yeah, I need a break from YouTube every now and then.
Yeah.
1 hour a day. I make you watch normal TV with me.
On the days we don't watch a ton of TV.
No,
we don't. But we do. But when we get in, like usually it's like now. It's like it's bedtime. We're gonna crawl into bed.
Yeah.
I flip on the TV. I like to watch YouTube. You like to watch more of like a series or something that has like a prolonged story.
Like a story.
Yeah, me not so much worried about that.
Yeah, car reviews.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Got a phone call. I gotta take care.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.